Guys, I have a question for you, and visualize yourself as an up-and-coming NBA prospect. Wouldn't being drafted to a world-class organization be the ideal scenario for you coming into the NBA? Because if we're being honest, that organization has to be great at scouting and drafting players, and has more than likely developed players at your position, keeping you rest assured that they'll not only allow you to maximize your potential, but also surround you with the right supporting cast to win games. However, let's take a step back. What if this team isn't rebuilding? What if they still have the older guard of players on the roster with the hope of competing? Well, that simply means that you have to adapt to what the team needs at the time to help them compete. Think about the San Antonio Spurs trading for Kawhi Leonard on draft day and him joining that legendary core. With Kawhi buying in and playing within that selfless culture with the Spurs, specializing on defense and gradually developing into one of the more versatile wings in the league. But what if that player isn't fully bought into exactly what the team needs? What if the vision of the player doesn't match up with the vision of the team? Well, we had the Jonathan Kuminga paradox in 2025, and a situation that has become weirder and weirder by the day. It's gone to the point where a player like Kuminga, who was the team's second leading scorer last year after entering the starting five, has literally fallen out of the rotation. Before we get into this strange case of Jonathan Kuminga, be sure to leave a like on the video as that makes a massive difference for the channel, and also be sure to sub to the channel for more content like this. In the D'Angelo Russell trade at the 2020 NBA trade deadline, the Golden State Warriors received Andrew Wiggins and a future first-round pick in the 2021 NBA draft. That pick ended up being 7th overall and was used to draft a young wing by the name of Jonathan Kuminga out of G League Ignite. He didn't have the outside jumper and lacked a diverse offensive game, but he had the physical gifts to suggest that he had all-star potential. He was a powerful wing with a 7-foot wingspan, had a very quick explosive first step, could jump out of the gym, and could thus be a factor in transition. His situation was also perfect because he was drafted to a team with vets like Andre Iguodala and Andrew Wiggins, having the added tutelage of two guys who fit the bill of athletic freaks who molded their all-around games and sacrificed in order to fit within a team's winning system. Just to be clear, the Golden State Warriors never drafted Kuminga to be a savior of the franchise or to one day directly carry the torch from Stephen Curry. There was no urgency to play him in massive minutes as a rookie since the Dubs had a competitive squad and obviously prioritized playing members in their playoff rotation who gave them the best chance of winning. However, 2023 is really where we start to see Kuminga show glimpses of what we knew he could be. Particularly in Wiggins' absence, Kuminga produced while proving to be one of the more explosive athletes in the league, running the floor well, being a strong finisher at the rim, slipping screens and cutting to the rim, and displaying defensive chops against some of the league's best offensive players. But after playing barely any minutes in the 2023 playoffs and not receiving playing time to start the 2024 NBA season, despite Andrew Wiggins' early struggles, things got really rocky between Kuminga and Steve Kerr. Kuminga's camp leaked a report that he didn't feel he could reach his full potential with the Golden State Warriors due to mismanagement from Steve Kerr. And the crazy thing is that literally the next day, a shaved head Jonathan Kuminga was inserted into starting five and never looked back for the rest of the season. With an uptick in minutes and being the de facto second option, Kuminga would average 19 points per game on 54% from the field and 36% from 3 through 42 games, demonstrating his ability to go downhill and being one of the best finishers at the rim. With this improvement, the Warriors offered him a $150 million deal over 5 years, which was an insane commitment from the team given the sample size of great performances from him since 2022 was a bit small, and Kuminga's game wasn't completely conducive to great success for the Dubs. Kuminga is ultra talented player, but his playstyle doesn't match what the Warriors need on the floor. And what he's shown out in the offseason in terms of workouts isn't something we'd realistically see translate in a game in the Warriors system. Kuminga is a player who, on the ball, both offensively and defensively, can be a contributor if he's engaged. However, he can compromise ball movement and still hasn't fully factored in exactly where he needs to be at all times on the floor to best fit the Warriors' motion offense. He's not a great outside shooter, which not only shrinks the floor since his opponents don't have to heavily guard him from the perimeter, but also limits the combination of lineups Steve Kerr can realistically play him with on the floor. Kuminga's offensive game is also fairly limited. He specializes in his drives to the rim and running the floor in transition, but he can't reliably and efficiently generate offense in other isolation opportunities, isn't a great off-ball threat, and obviously can't beat you in catch-and-shoot situations, and isn't going to beat you outside of his interior game. If your shot isn't falling, you have to be able to impact the game defensively or through making game-winning plays, but when he's off offensively, Kuminga becomes disengaged, turning into a player that can be a detriment on the floor. Defensively, Kuminga obviously has the physical gifts to be a good on-ball defender when engaged, but when he's unengaged, he can be a ball watcher who isn't great off the ball. He's not a great playmaker who can make life easier for Steph, or someone who continually uses his created rim pressure to create for others. Additionally, with his injury, the Warriors trading for Jimmy Butler and handing him an extension further complicates everything. Jimmy isn't an elite shooter either, but he impacts the game in multiple ways, being able to get to the line, which greatly helps a team like the Warriors who notoriously struggled to get to the line, being able to be a lead or secondary ball handler, being a great playmaker to create easier looks for his teammates, and being a good finisher who can show up in big moments. The thing is, Steve Kerr's hands are tied with Kuminga. There's no universe where you can start lineups of Draymond, Butler, and Kuminga due to lack of spacing, and with the other aforementioned issues that Kuminga has, it only makes sense that he had to be a scratch over the last few games. He didn't play in the Clipper game, which is a do-or-die game, where the Warriors literally risked falling into the play-in, which they eventually did, and Kuminga also didn't play in the play-in game against the Grizzlies, where a loss would have put them on the brink of playoff elimination. It's very telling that a player like Moses Moody, who was drafted in the same lottery as Kuminga, is getting playing time. I don't know what Moses Moody did to Steve Kerr in a past life, but Steve Kerr's anger burned so greatly against him that he refused to give him a chance earlier in his career. However, he and similarly GP2 can be stoppers on the defensive end while being more than content settling for the offensive opportunities presented to them on a game-to-game basis, solidifying themselves in the rotation. We already talked about how bad a disengaged Kuminga can be, so of course, with just few offensive opportunities, Kuminga hasn't demonstrated that he can impact the game in that way like GP2 and Moody can. So he's relegated to the bench and getting DNPs on a Warriors team that's pressing hard to win a title. Steve Kerr has stated that he does see Kuminga not only playing, but making an impact in the playoffs, but the writing is on the wall that Kuminga will not be a Warrior moving forward. They already have a ton of money committed to this team. The Jimmy Butler extension, again, greatly complicates things, and bringing Kuminga back would be extremely difficult and nonsensical at this point. I truly feel Kuminga has a bright future ahead of him, but just like we saw with Josh Giddey in the OKC Thunder, your team being a contender and your presence on the floor being not necessarily a plus might just mean that you need a change of scenery where you have more opportunity and new expectations placed upon yourself. We've seen players like Julius Randle sign a 1+1 deal with the Pelicans a few years ago, have a standout year, and then sign a multi-year deal with the New York Knicks where he actually thrived. But as for his Dubs tenure, this playoff run just might be it for Kuminga in the Bay. With that being said, let me know what you feel is wrong with Jonathan Kuminga and why he's not getting playing time, and let me know the destinations where you could see him thrive in the near future. Does he have a future as an all-star? Well, let me know in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on the video as that makes a massive difference for the channel. Check out my recent video that I made on Giannis Antetokounmpo being an overshadowed superstar. And again, sub for more content like this. Hope to see you on the next one. And as I always say, stay tuned.